Hi everyone, this is Jeanne B and we're doing fun with art today. So I figured before I actually start doing like crafts for the holidays, I wanted to take you through some easy things to do with painting. So this is a little canvas. I've got little canvases so it would make it very, very easy. The first thing we're going to do is these are just little tiny, they're supposed to be flowers, they can be little dragons, they can be whatever you want. But we're going to see how uniquely we're going to make them. Aren't they cute? I thought they were cute. They're actually fun to do with children as well. And you can, I did these color combinations because this is what I had at home, and this is what I would plan to do. Now, to start off with, I'm going to just use a basic white acrylic paint, and I'm going to put that on to cover the canvas. And the reason you do that is so that the paint has to have like a pillow in order for it to move, right? In order for it to sit. And how we do that is we usually put acrylic paint, a white, just a simple white acrylic paint. I just mixed it with water and made it very simple. I make up my paints. I use a paint. I use Floetrol, I use paint, acrylic paint, and sometimes I'll use this stuff, you know, gloss varnish, and then I add water to get the consistency I want. And when I do that, I use these kind of paints. This is just regular craft paint, and then this is a little bit thicker. So this I use when I'm actually doing paintings, but you can thin this out. It takes a lot of Floetrol to do that, but you can use it if you have these kind of paints as well. What we're looking for is a consistency so that we can actually pour it onto the canvas. We don't want it too thick. So I went and I purchased, these are already pre-done for paint pours. And so what we're going to do first, we're going to take our big, our big stick, and I am going to just cover the canvas with a little bit of white. And I'm just going to smooth that out. I did not bring my torch because I didn't think it would be, I didn't know how many fire alarms they had in the studio, and I didn't want to set anything off because sometimes it makes it very smoky. But what you can do, I have a little brulee torch. And so what I would do is like I would go over this to get any little bubbles out or anything like that. So this is how we're going to start. We've just prepped the canvas, right? Just like in life, when you're going to go do something, you got to be prepared. You bring your resume, you bring all these other things, so you're prepared. So when you enter, you got it down pat. So now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently mix this up because it is from the store. And I'm just going to make circles. And how I'm going to do that is just going to pour the circles or dots, and they all become into circles. This is kind of, I didn't want to overdo it. And I'm going to do some of the pinks. So you pick out your own color palette. Now I'm going to show you what happens when you don't pay attention and you pick out a palette you think is going to work and it's not. Because when you mix colors together, they make another color, right? Red and blue make green, yellow and orange make, yellow and red make orange. So when I was trying to do this, I wanted to do, this was supposed to be copper, and it was supposed to be black with gold. I ended up with this. So because the colors mixed together, it made it into a gray. Yeah, it's cute. Am I going to use it? No. But I wanted to show you it's okay to make some mistakes in life. It doesn't matter. You just, if I was home, I would have just swept it all off and started again. Just like anything else in life, right? If you don't like it, move it out of there. But I said, I think I'll just show it to all you guys so you can see it. Now, this is the fun part. I'm going to put another color. And you can be a little bit neater, you know, at home with however you want. Now, there are some people, what they will do with this, and I forgot to bring my toothpick, but they'll actually make the lines all go together and make a design first. But I really didn't want to do that. I think since I like purple, I'm going to put more purple in between. And so now we have that. Now comes the fun part. And if you have children, they will enjoy this just as much as you will enjoy doing it. Because I have made with these big pictures, right? And I would make them in the corners, and you'll see. This is a napkin, just a plain and simple napkin. I'm going to wet the napkin. I think I'm going to wet the napkin. Hold on. I mean, I do not want the napkin soaking, but I do want it to have a little bit of wetness. And the reason for that is I don't want the paint to dry and absorb too much onto the napkin. I want it to stay on the canvas. So you wet it, so that gives it a little bit more movement. And I'm going to lay this right down on my picture. And I'm going to lightly press. You don't want to rub it too much. You just want to lightly press. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up each corner, right? Very neatly. And then, you know, like when, I don't know if, well, you're probably not as old as I am, but those games we used to play, Love Me Not, Love Me, you know, all those different, that's what it kind of looks like that. And then you can either lift, or you can lift and twist, however you want. And you end up with a design. And that is how you make those designs. Now, I could take this one step further, and with my little brulee torch that I have at home, I would just lightly go like that, and see all the little air bubbles that are in there? It would make them bigger. So it would give it a bigger design, a different design. The other thing I can do with this, as I have it, I can turn it, and I can make it different colors, do different things. So suppose I wanted to make it a little bit more go off the canvas, I can bring it around, come back down. So if I have a different design, however I want to do it. The next thing I can do with this same thing that we're doing is get a straw. Press one straw, squish it, and then the other straw you're going to put in your mouth, and you are going to blow out, not in. And you are going to just make the paint move where you want it to go. And you can then make flowers, or however you want it to be, and make a design that you are choosing to make. So from one thing, you can make quite a few different things out of this project. It's a fun project. It's easy to do. You can do it. I've done these on very, very large canvases, very, very even little tinier canvases than this. And play with your palette. Just remember, if you don't know what colors go together, they have color wheels. Which ones are opposite, which ones go next to each other, because if you decide to put all these colors together and they don't mix well, just like in life, you have to make sure you're mixing with the right people and all that other stuff, right? You know, making sure that everybody gets along, and you don't want anybody fighting with the other one when you have a cocktail party, or however that works for you, or at a wedding. That's usually good. You make sure this family sits with that family sits with that family, and that way everybody is cohesive and everybody doesn't argue. The same thing with colors. Colors, if you put too many together, you make brown, you make mud. If that's what you're looking for, then of course, then go right ahead. But only start with maybe 1 or 2 colors, and that way they can mix together and you can see how it flows. Because the next thing I wanted to teach you about is the weights of the colors. When you mix colors, like I do, you can mix them thinner, you can mix them heavier. And which ones you want to show, you mix them lighter so they stay on the top of your picture paint. So that way when you're mixing it, when you're blowing it, when you're painting with it, when it dries, that color will come to the surface and you'll see more of it. So that's how you do different kind of colors. Now, that's one project. I said I was going to do 3. This is another one. Got another little canvas, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put just some white paint all over it. Mix it all up. Nice and easy. With this one, I am going to add a little bit more of the white paint. And you'll see why in a minute. Because I need the white paint to be as the buffer for when I put the chains down. Aha, I caught your attention, didn't I, when I said chains? When I put the chains down and make designs with them. And so what we're going to do, it's going to look like this, right? This is made with chains. This is made with a tiny chain, dragging it through the different colors in the paints. You can make very large paintings with these. You can make very tiny ones, depending on the chain. For instance, this is one of the larger ones I painted, okay? And it's actually supposed to be flowers, which are pretty cool. So we're going to leave that there so you can see it. And I want to show you the difference with what kind of chains you can use. Now, obviously, this chain I would not use on this little tiny canvas because it would make a mess. If I'm using a very large canvas, then this is what I would drag through the paint, okay, because it would give me more area, more room. These are always fun. You know, you find those little plastic things at the dollar store, the little beads. These work well because sometimes when you use them and you use them, you can only rinse them out so much, right? When you keep using them, what happens is they get a film on them. So if they're really inexpensive, then you don't mind, you know, tossing them. And then, of course, there's these. This I would use if my painting was larger than this, because I would go from one end of the canvas to the other and pull it through. So if I wanted to make a very long flower, if I wanted to make a very long stem, then that's what I would do. Today, we're not going to use any of those. Today, we're going to just use a very simple chain. I mean, it's not rocket scientists, but we can use different lengths. And these are so easy, they break. So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to still use the same paint pour paints because that's what I have, and that's the kind of consistency you need. You need a paint that is going to be very liquidy and be able to go through the canvas. So now there are different ways to actually do this, and I'm going to show them to you. Some artists like to take the paint and just put it on the canvas because it's less messy. And they'll just do like 3 or 4 dots, that's it, of all the different colors, right? And they make sure it drags down however they want to do it. Okay, let's do some pink. Okay, now comes the fun part. Now you take the chain, and a lot of times you have to make sure, oh, a little hair on there. Now you have to make sure that you start this over here, up against this. Because if you start in the middle, what ends up happening is you end up dragging more of the white paint across the colors, and so they get like muddied. And I will show you. So I'm going to come up here like this, and I'm just going to go like that, look. Right? And once I've done that, I'm just going to pull it over to the side. Isn't that pretty cool? And so you can go over it again. Now, of course, I didn't bring a tub of water because that was too hard to do. So I'm just going to wipe this. And I've decided that I want to make that a little bit different. So now I'm going to go in where I feel it's too thick, come around, and I'm going to bring that out. And maybe come back this way if I want, and then back that way. And you make all kinds of designs. You can make all kinds of flowers, however you choose to do it. And so now, the other way that I've seen this done, this way can get a little bit messy. So that's why I wanted to I prefer that way because I feel like I have more control, and I like control, trust me. So I'm just going to turn this around. And what I'm going to do is with these colors, usually they take their colors and they put them down like that. And they usually get the chain wet, and then put the chain on the canvas. So this is the one I used before. I'm going to use this little one, well, maybe a little bit bigger so you can see. Okay, so this is just a clear chain. I have not used it yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it into the color. It gets a little messy, but some artists prefer doing it that way. Then they take the chain, which has all the different colors on it. They start at the edge. So that way you can balance it. And then they'll make different designs and go right across. And then just pull. So it's all personal preference. For me, I find it more control to put the paint on the canvas and then run the chain through it, but it's however you like. So we can do it again. You can do some more. And then let's say I'm going to come, let's start in here. Let's see the difference. I start in there, right? But see how the paint is pulling up behind the chain. And that's what happens sometimes when you start in the middle, because you're actually just grabbing the white and you're pulling it through, right? And so then you have this blob. What do I do with the blob? You can go back in, you can smooth it if you choose, or just, see how it dries and see, what kind of a mess you're making. But that's how you work with the chains. And they're very simple, they're a lot of fun, they're messy. And so then what you would do is just take the chains, throw them in some water, and rinse them off, and they'll be fine. Matter of fact, what I'm going to do is, so that way I can bring them home. We'll just improvise. Ever have to improvise in life? I have many different times. You have no clue. It's kind of fun, though, when you think about it, right? When you improvise with different things and you got to change direction, and with all these moons and all these voids and all these other things that are going on in the world today. So you just have to learn how to just change it up. Do it differently, and then you're okay. So now, okay, that was the second thing. Pretty cool stuff you can do. Lots of fun, right? Now, the next thing I want to show you how to do, same idea. I tend to use, these are just crates for cooking, I obviously don't cook on them anymore, but to, dry your cookies or whatever. I use these a lot. This is my preferred method, but they do have things in the store today that are like this. So that it's all self-contained, right? Like a lot of times when people are doing vases or they're doing jars or anything, the techniques I'm going to show you right now, you can use for that as well. I find this to be messier than if I just poured it on my puppy pad and my grate. Because what happens is the paint is now going to sit in this tray. And when it sits in the tray, then I have to clean it out later. That makes sense? So for me, that's messy. I don't do messy very well. I like to be messy, but I don't do messy very well. So, but they do have these. They have these at the local art stores, and they're very convenient, especially if you've got small children. And this way, when my grandkids are around and I do stuff with this, like this with them, then I can take it out in the backyard and just hose it off. Because you can't do not put acrylic paint down your sink, because it will clog the sink. Trust me, it clogs the sink. So you don't want to do that. Okay, so now the holidays are coming. I said I wasn't going to do holiday stuff yet, but I found these and I said, ooh, this would be the perfect idea to do a paint pour. And so these are just, I got these at the local store. These are stone. So now, normally, if you are doing wood, like all these techniques I've just showed you, you can do on wood, you can do on stone, you can do on any kind of thing that you can think of. It'll work. For stone, for this, I need to, so that the color does not absorb too much, because the stone, they're not finished. And so I need to just go over there and seal that a little bit, like that. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a paint pour. The paint you put in first is the paint you will see. Okay? So, of course, I like purple. Ha! Could you tell? So I'm going to put a little bit of purple in here. And then I need to buffer it with white, just to give it that pillow. So see how that will make it smooth. And then I think I'll do it with pink, because I kind of like those colors. And then I'm going to do more white. Now this doesn't need a lot, but I want to show you how to layer it. And you just keep layering the colors that you want. Now, to paint pour, simple as you can think. okay? I've done balls, I've done big bowls, I've done all kinds of different ones. It's just taking this, if I don't have a toothpick, but you can run this through and this will work just like this. If you hold it up high, you're gonna get a bigger design. If you go down low, right, it'll be a smaller design. When you are doing say this was a vase, if you're doing a vase, you have to make sure that you have like a cup or something underneath it, all right? So that way that paint, so that it won't stick to whatever the bottom is. And we can maybe this winter we'll do a vase. We'll figure it out. So, but we're just gonna show you these really quick so that way you can have some fun. And I'm gonna go right here, and I'm gonna go right into the middle, because that's what I like to do. And I'm just gonna pour it. Look at those pretty colors, huh? And that's paint pouring. So now what do I do with it? It looks like a blob of paint. Then you're gonna pour. Then you're just gonna twist it around however you want. And you can do it as many times as you like. Next time, wear gloves. I have gloves, but as you can see, I never put them on. I like to make sure that my edges are done, because I feel like they're just more finished that way. If you don't, that's okay with you, because these are your art projects, and that's how it works, right? I did bring gloves. I do want you to see. I did bring them. I just didn't use them. Big difference. So so I'm going to lift this up just so you can see it better, but this is how you can make it. When it's dry, if you want to do the other side, you could do differently. You could actually put felt on the bottom. You could put corking on the bottom. You can put a textured material on the other side, however you want. You can write on it to whomever, however. So then you can have a tree to put in your house, an ornament. And I made tons of these. Now you can see that it went through on the other side. I'm going to show you a neat trick. I hate to waste paint. And since there's that blob of paint there, guess what? I'm going to do the other side. And see? Pretty cool. So why waste, right? I don't like to waste anything. And I think in life, a lot of times we've come to that part of the society, we just throw things away instead of reusing them. I think we should reuse as much as we possibly can to help our environment. And so I hope you like these. This is pretty cool. I think so. I think I'm done. So, I know what I want to talk to you about, this. I prefer this to mostly all, I do a lot of stuff in my home, and so I don't like a lot of different smells. So I use this varnish. It's not as smelly as normal, or else sometimes I'll use UV resin. And we've done that last week, and you should see how that painting came out. When I brought it home, I redid the whole thing. It really came out pretty cool. It's hanging in my house now. So I put this, once this is completely dry, and when I say dry, it has to be completely dry. Just take this, use a glove. This I will use a glove with. And then very lightly, I just put a little bit on my fingers, and I just smooth it over to seal it and give it a shine. And while that is still wet, I use glitter. I like glitter. I can put glitter now, and just a little bit, so it gives it that nice shine, like a sparkle. You know, like when you see those commercials and they got that sparkle in your eye? You can make your ornaments and all your stuff sparkle. So I do use this. There are many different kinds out there on the market. This is just the one I picked up at the store because that's what they carry. But I like to use some that are not as smelly. I know people like to spray varnish, and that's fine, or use spray paint. I have used spray paint, but I find that spray paint, the smell doesn't go away very well. Right now I'm working on a project. I spray painted these pine cones at the beginning of the summer, and they still stink. So I'll have to work on that. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed today. If you did, please like and share my video so I can come back and do some more. I think next time I'll start doing fall crafts, and just some simple things that we can do together. You can have fun, and make life more enjoyable for yourself. This is Jeanne B. Have fun with art, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.